He sends me this email and I go, it's supposed to be for the report or the proposal I'm doing. And I end up going. So I literally text him back and I'm like, I'm going to call them and I'm going to go. And he's like, what? Because again, no one knows. And I had told people that I was having this PTSD problem or these PTSD symptoms. I was having nightmares and and it brought back a lot of other calls I'd had. Every single other call that stuck with me, like hangings in particular. I had this 18-year-old girl hanging that was right when I got hired. And then my friend Nate had committed suicide when I was just new in the fire service. I had been there 2 years, so it was like 2008. He hung himself. And so I've particularly had really hard times with hangings. And I had another call after, like during this time, right before I went off work, where this 18-year-old girl, we show up and she had an electrical cord around her neck and she was on the other side of the balcony on her deck ready to jump. And so it was a matter of like the cops coaxing or like trying to distract her and then pull her over the balcony before she jumped off. And it was like a 3-story balcony. So I remember it was like I was able to sit there and talk to her because I had been on a 5150 hold, which now I was going to have to put her on one. So I knew this whole experience I had helped me with my job because now I could know what hospital to send her to. I didn't want to send her to Valley Medical Center. I wanted to send her to El Camino Mountain View because that's a better hospital and it will actually get her the help she needs. So it was, I just like when it comes to that in particular, it was like I was so happy that I was on the call, but then I started having nightmares about the fact that like, what if I couldn't stop thinking about what if she had jumped? Like, then what would we do? And I was obsessing about it. And then it was reminding me of that call I had when I was brand new, and it was this 18-year-old girl who had hung herself. But so there was those couple calls, and it just spiraled me. So I ended up going like, I need to go to this rehab. So I call them, right? I call them, and they were able to get me in like, I want to say 2 or 3 days from that point. So I booked a flight, and of course, like, dumb me who's just thinking like I'm just gonna live it up till I get there, bringing this cocaine on the plane. I brought it on the plane with me. I didn't even hide it. Like I was drinking vodka like out of water bottles because that's what I do. I drive around with a water bottle full of water and a water bottle full of vodka and a lot of cocaine, and I do cocaine like in the center console of my car while I'm driving, and it'd be like falling and stupid. I can't believe like what a hazard I was for multiple reasons. But so I end up getting to Denver was like the connection flight, and I missed my connector because I was drinking too much. So then I had to spend the night in a hotel, which for me it was like, yes, so one more night of like living it up. So drank and did cocaine all that night, stayed up till God knows when, got on a flight the next day, and ended up getting to the rehab, and they were joking a ton about, oh yeah, you showed up this way and that way and messed up. But I don't even remember like the first week I was there. I was in detox. I was so shaky and so messed up. So I was there for 48 days, I think. And the PTSD counselor was absolutely amazing. But I still wasn't completely convinced that I was an alcoholic or a drug addict. Like I thought, okay, well, it probably wasn't completely normal usage of it. But the fire service is kind of its own beast in the sense that when people are on like working, they can't wait to get off to go drink. And it's like, oh, well, we're not alcoholics because we don't drink on the 2 days that we're working. So that doesn't qualify us to be an alcoholic. And I'm always like, what are you talking about? You guys drink all day long, every day when you're off. Like, how is that not? Like, you can't at work. So I get out of rehab, and I end up relapsing right away. It almost was like a fuck you to the rehab because some shady stuff happened when I was there with the administration. And it was more of a fuck you, but it was screwing myself. It wasn't doing any harm to anybody else but me. So over this last year, I was in IOP, the outpatient program, for 4 months, and then I got sent out on a fire. And after that, I started relapsing here or there. It was like I'd have a couple months, and then I'd relapse, and then I'd have a couple months, and then I'd relapse, and then it was like a month, and then it was 2 weeks. And when they talk about progressive, like I truly feel that's an understatement. Like I thought in the beginning when they were talking about that, I'm like, that's a bunch of crap. Like progressive, please. If I don't use or drink, like, and I start again, I'll be fine. But I think then I got this idea like, okay, if I relapse, I'm going to go balls to the wall, like crazy. And that's been my whole life really with everything is like balls to the wall nutty. But oh, I know another crazy stupid thing I did when I was using is when they talk about like, oh, I tried religion or oh, I tried this or I tried that. Well, I do believe in God. I am a Christian, and I know a lot of my behaviors aren't in line with that, and it makes me feel terrible. But I would go to church to try to be like doing good, and I would be doing lines of cocaine in the bathroom. It's like it doesn't even make any sense because it's just like an oxymoron or like a contradiction. And it made me just again feel terrible about myself. So when I got out and I relapsed a few times, I ended up signing back up for IOP. I had a couple bad relapses, and they were around relationships. So I would get into like I remember I got into a 3-month relationship that was with this guy that kept telling me I'm not an addict. Like, oh, you're not an addict. Oh, cool. How long have you known me, dude? Like a day. Rad. Why? Because I have a good job and a house and I function. Like, but that doesn't mean I'm an addict. Like I guess in his defense, that's what I thought. I would have never like been like, oh yeah, that person's an addict or an alcoholic because they were functioning. Like I never thought my parents were addicts or alcoholics. Same thing. Well, they're not addicts; they're more alcoholics. But regardless, I never knew that they were technically qualified as that because they would just drink a number of drinks at night, not a ton where they're blacking out, but enough to just, make their behaviors different. And I grew up like that. And so I've realized now, after a lot of like counseling and just the rehabs that a lot of the things that I've done or the ways I behaved or just characteristics of myself have come from, seeing that exhibited when I was little, and reacting to that, not to blame anybody because that's not it, but it's more just kind of, oh, okay, now I can see the patterns or why this probably led me to this or that. But so yeah, I was talking about relationships. I thought, okay, well, I can just try to have relationships, even though they tell me I shouldn't have a relationship for a while in recovery. Well, I'll just try it out and see how it is because I'll just go from one addiction to another. Like I'll just now be addicted to this dude instead of alcohol or cocaine. That'll be a good thing. Well, every relationship I had that was short, I ended up relapsing after it. So I realized real fast that that's not a good option for me to do the relationship thing.